I got it! When I first heard about Dave being trapped in a maze...
1, 2, 3, 4!
I built a labyrinth. Can you believe it?
Dave is trapped in a cardboard maze in his living room and he can't get out.
Welcome to Dave Made a Minute, the podcast where a whole bunch of us are exploring the film Dave Made a Maze 1 minute at a time. The twist. Many of the participants have never seen the film. Some don't even know what film they're sampling. They get their minutes and they tackle them as they see fit. Here's your host from the Groundhog Day Project and Michael Myers Minute, Robert Black.
Minute 59. Dave and Annie have breakfast. Before we get to minute 59, how seeing her naked gets us to I Heard That in 4 parts. Part 1. August and September 1999, I wrote a story called Seeing Her Naked. I wrote it in chapters, each in one sitting, and emailed them out like an old-timey serial. Seeing Her Naked had 10 chapters. The final chapter was written Monday, 27th of September 1999, on a computer that didn't really have a hard drive. I'd won the computer in a lottery giveaway thing they did at the law firm where I worked at the time. It had always been connected to a network, so it had virtually no storage of its own. It also had no internet access, so each chapter would be saved to a 3.5-inch floppy. That floppy would be taken to my sister's computer in the dining room, where there was a dial-up connection and where I could copy and paste the text of the chapter into a series of outgoing emails. At its peak, the story had about 100 regular readers. There was no mailing list to make that any easier than copying and pasting from a list, a dozen or so at a time, because there was a limit to how many recipients I could have. I poured a lot of emotion into that last chapter, which climaxed with an angry confrontation between the narrator and his childhood friend and once-upon-a-time would-be girlfriend. I finished the writing feeling already fairly drained. I saved the file onto a floppy, ejected it, took it to the other computer, and the file wasn't there. Or rather, the file was there, and inexplicably, some of the words were there but with gaps. Imagine a typed page of text and someone had gone through and erased the majority of the words on the page. This was how each page of the chapter appeared. I returned to my own computer, hoping I had left the file open, or could recover it somehow. There was no autosave function in the old version of WordPerfect I was using. After the panic, there were tears. Then there was fitful sleep. But let us get to minute 59 of Dave Made a Maze. To tackle minute 59, we have Liz Whitaker and George Hendricks of I Heard That.
You come home, there's a giant maze in your living room. You're like, what the? There's a giant maze in my living room. I've heard of people rearranging the furniture, but this is wackadoodle crazy. Give me a sense of that.
This doesn't make any sense.
The problem? There's a promise to my segment, but solution's no problem.
It's like a fucking cocktail party in here.
I get a few words from you before you go.
Oh, hey there. This here's George and Liz. And
hello.
Hey there, Liz.
I'm so sorry, neighbor. Was it not my turn?
No. Oh, it's okay. It's okay, my neighbor. It's fine. So we are from the podcast I Heard That, which is all about the cheesiest parts of the Midwest and the upper Midwest and the places in between, but mostly those. So we're doing a little guest spot here on a little podcast called Dave Made a Minute, and it's a little minute-by-minute breakdown of Dave Made a Maze, which is one of those movies that I guess the kids like. Sure.
You know,
George, what do you think?
There's just not enough cheese in it for me. But
there's cheese in it, but I don't think it's of the dairy variety, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, I know what you mean.
You get it?
I get it, what you did there.
I made it funny. Sometimes I do that. That's why
you do.
I am the funniest guy at my church.
That's why the listeners love I Heard That.
I Heard That. Trademark Wisconsin Dairy is our sponsor.
So, George, I think we're here to talk about, minute 59 today.
Oh, 59, yeah. That's such a great minute because it's the one right before 60, you know? And it's just a good number. And I'm a big fan of it.
It's so wholesome. It
is, absolutely.
Very wholesome number.
It's nothing like those other numbers that sound kind of like it, that come a little bit later in the number scheme, if you know what I mean. Those are not great. Only hosers like those numbers.
Oh, those dirty numbers.
Oh, it's not.
Oh, for crying in the mud.
Those crying in the, yeah.
They're
yeah,
offensive.
we can't talk about that.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll wind up with another blue dot on my house. It's okay. Don't worry about it. We don't have to talk about that. All right, so we're jumping into this here minute. I think it opens up with two young folks sitting at a table and closes up a little bit later with two young folks sitting at a table.
Well, then there's young folks. That's Dave and Annie.
Oh, geez. Oh, Dave. I know a Dave and Andy. Dave and Andy Gunderson from around the way. They're real nice.
No, George. Dave and Annie.
Oh, I was wondering because they look nothing alike, which was really confusing me a little bit there.
So they're having a bit of a confusing conversation about coffee.
Well, yeah, but they're also having a little bit of breakfast, which, it's the most important meal of the day.
It is.
Yes, and excuse me if I went to another bit of Irish breakfast right there. I was thinking about corned beef and hash.
Oh, I heard that. We'll take the cheese from anywhere.
Although I do love Irish cheddar. The Kerrygold or just those Irish cows, they know what they're doing.
Oh, they do. They put out a delicious flavor.
Oh, there you did it too.
I know. You just start talking about the Kerrygold and I can't help it.
Oh, Liz, you're my wee leprechaun. Sorry, folks. We could cut that out. We're just having a bit of a good time here. We're just
having a laugh. That's how we do on the Curd. I heard that.
I heard that's a bit of a gas of a show, and not just because we eat a lot of cheese on it, if you know what I mean.
Hoy. Yes, we eat so much cheese on that show. A lot of our gas often gets stuck in. It's nice to just be able to let it go, and this here Dave made a minute. So
this here minute, we're talking about their Dave, who is this is the Dave who made a maze, isn't it?
One would expect that this might be the titular Dave.
It would be a crazy coincidence, if you know what I mean, if this Dave had not actually made the maze that is the title of the movie. And Annie over there is having a cup of coffee, and there's a conversation about the coffee because Dave made it, but there's only enough for one, and Annie doesn't want to drink it unless there's enough for two. But he insists that she drink it anyway. Don't worry, folks. This comes back later. Very
polite, kids. Very polite.
Absolutely. And speaking of Ireland, there's a bunch of corks on the wall, which is I think that's a little homage.
That's a very interesting art.
It's a cute little kitchen. It's a very large kitchen, actually.
Oh, it's all coming back. It's all coming back to me now.
You want to share your feelings about me on that? Or is that Celine Dion, who's Canadian?
Yeah, I just had to bring Celine in on this. I don't know who I am now.
Excuse me, folks. It seems that our friend Liz here might be having a slight mental break, but it's okay.
A bit of a malfunction.
We can just edit. We'll edit around that later. It's okay. And you might not even hear about it. You just 1 minute she's one person, next minute she's another. A lot of sibling rivalry over here.
I'm seeing a lot of doctors about it.
Because you have the consumption. Are you rather hungry because of lack of potatoes?
There are not nearly enough potatoes in my diet.
Are you shooting for your own hand?
When you need effective at cheese, look no further than the cheesemonger. Oh, hi-de-ho there! This here's the cheesemonger coming at you with your I Heard That Daily Cheese Fact. Shout out to the Larson family farm down Outagami Way for looking after me this past weekend. I had a little injury out there which made it so I couldn't travel the past 2-3 days. But I'm back at home, good old McCourt. I'm fair to middling and I got your I Heard That Daily Cheese Fact. Here goes. Round about 1841, during the siege of Montevideo, Brazil, as the tales go, a Uruguayan ship had run out of cannonballs, you know. The ship's commander hatched an ingenious solution, you betcha. They seized the stale cheese from the ship's stores. As the tales go, it was Edam, but I gotta say, in my experience, a good pecorino can do more damage. My cousin Liam once got a black eye from a chunk of pecorino thrown by his ex-wife. That's old Thunderbolt Emma, who our regular I Heard That listeners will know, holds several championship cheese-eating titles, believe you me. Oh, I should get to the end of the tale. They loaded the stale cheese into their cannons and fired. Because these kinds of tales like to be dramatic, they miss a couple 2-3 times. And then finally, one shot goes clean through the main mast of the Brazilian ship, and 2 sailors were killed by the shrapnel. I'd like to take a moment to say a prayer for the lives lost that day. Those 2 poor soldiers, and that poor hunk of Edam. This has been the Cheesemonger with your daily I Heard That cheese fact. Enjoy the rest of Dave Built a Maze Minute. Back to you, George and Liz.
Cheese, glorious cheese. Tastes mighty and
When you need a fact about cheese, you're looking no further than the Cheesemonger.
enjoy cheese, marvelous cheese, wonderful cheese, glorious cheese.
All of a sudden, their outfits are new.
Oh yeah, so we look at them, and 1 minute they're wearing different clothes, and that's just a crazy. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure how that happens. You cut away from what?
Do you know what I like about it?
Please, tell me.
Our friend Dave here, he's got a nightcap on, and that is
He does. It's very.
that is a
proper
trend
nightcap.
I'd like to see return.
Oh really? The Ichabod, the winking and blinking and nod cap.
Winking. Oh, no, that's a group of men I've not heard of in a long time. Winking, blinking, and nod.
I think it's a winking and blinking and nod to the old days. Well, then he's wearing a hobo outfit, which he's got a bindle, and I'm sure he's sharing a bean, and that's how he's doing that. And then she's wearing a lovely evening gown with a bit of a pinkle sparkle on pinkle.
Oh,
There's
but first she's in a lovely business suit. She's got a nice,
she is. I forgot about a lovely
blazer.
cream blazer with an underpinning of a lighter rose shade.
Some sort of pink blouse under there. And then we see the hobo. And then we see the evening gown. Cut to...
It's delightful.
Hmm?
And the entire time they're discussing coffee and her desire to have him partake of the coffee and his refusal. And then he changes his mind.
And he drinks it all.
He
He
does.
goes from being so polite to just downing that whole mug.
No, geez. Well, if you give a cup of coffee to a stranger, I mean, you're bound to get 2 cups back if you know. It's something my mother told me.
When you give a Dave a cookie, he'll want a cup of coffee.
And I personally, George, from I Heard That, is a huge fan of black coffee and sweet pastries.
Oof, black coffee. No.
Oh, it's so good.
No.
It balances out so right. It balances out perfectly if you have the bitter roasted flavour of the coffee mixed with the crispy sweet flakiness of whatever pastry. It's chocolate based, it's good. If it's fruit, it's good. Cake, it's good. I would not go so far as to recommend eating candy and coffee because that sounds like a terrible thing to do. But if you have black coffee and cake, it's amazing.
Do you know, the last black coffee I had was Turkish coffee, and that was an experience.
It absolutely is.
I do not think I wish to repeat.
Is Turkish coffee sweetened?
No.
Because I've had Cuban
It is.
coffee, which is extremely sweetened. So you go from opposite ends. You have the black, but it goes from dark bitter to dark liquid sugar that will jumpstart a dead rhinoceros if you pour it into the right orifice.
No, this was more like tar that you might pave a road with, but it's not so hot that it will burn you and melt you from the inside out, but it is very strong. Very, very strong.
So when you're done, you sort of you're twitching, right? You're twitching. You're like your
There's
eye
a bit
just
of a twitch.
You're twitching.
A bit of a twitch.
That's fascinating. That's lovely. It's lovely. So
You know what else is lovely? this painting smoke that our friend Dave ends up in at
yes.
the end of
His
this minute.
final outfit is a very
Kindergarten chic.
Trek. It is so lovely, and it fits him so well, and the way he wears is magnifique. It is
C'est magnifique.
It is a croissant of a costuming choice.
A croissant au poisson?
Un poisson.
Un poisson.
Oui. So we have
un poisson.
Dave made in minute Operation Water Slide.
So Annie, she asks Alice.
Annie, pardonnez-moi. Annie, c'est bon. Oh, magnifique.
C'est magnifique.
C'est beau.
She asks Dave what he's going to do tonight or tomorrow. What he's going to do.
And
Yes?
she said, she says,
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. We travel
Qu'est-ce-
over the
she
world.
says, qu'est-ce que tu vas faire?
Are you Googling these phrases in French?
Non. Essayer de répondre les mots. It's his proper should be his response is try to take over the world, but he does not say that because he is neither Pinky nor the brain. He says, "I'm changing my mind." Is that what he says?
He says the first half of the brain's answer.
And so at this point we circle back to the beginning of the minute. First.
Annie, she has a great burn. She says, well, look out, world.
Oh, c'est chaud. Annie c'est chaud.
How do you say burn in French?
Chaud, it's for hot.
Okay.
C'est deux.
Mais oui. Sacre bleu.
Well,
Un poisson.
I believe we're sort of we've covered the breadth of the minute content here, so we're going to go ahead and sum it up. And so there's a conversation over breakfast. Coffee is specifically the focal point of the entire thing, and there's a lot of really fast, sometimes on-screen flickery costume changes and they are very wildly from just normal everyday clothes boys and girls wear to French smocks and berets and business suits and but it's all clothing that people wear on a daily basis, or if you're going to a cotillion or
a prom,
I don't know,
prom
or a quinceañera. So that's minute 59 of Dave Made a Maze. I'm George from I heard that as sorry.
I heard you try and kick that to me, George.
I tried to throw it to you, Liz, but I think my hands are too cold from the fact that it's negative 25 outside, and I just dropped it. So I'm gonna try it again. I'm
okay.
Oh, excuse me. I dropped it and it broke because it was too cold. So yeah, so we're just gonna I'm George from I Heard That, and there's my lovely co-host Liz.
But I am also from I Heard That. Maybe tomorrow this head injury will have cleared up.
Well, you guys have a lovely night. Died. You have a lovely. Oh, okay.
And then I could probably disarm all the traps, and then we can finish this maze. Who is with me?
That was Liz Whitaker and George Hendricks of I Heard That, taking on minute 59 of Dave Made a Maze. They will be back next time on Dave Made a Minute, taking on minute 60.
Thank you for listening to Dave Made a Minute. Intro dialogue snippets were taken from Dave Made a Maze, directed by Bill Watterson, written by Bill Watterson and Steve Sears, and produced by John Charles Meyer. Intro music is Diversion by The Equals, featured in the film Dave Made a Maze, and Life Cycle of a Match by Parvis Decree. Outro music is Leaving This God-Forsaken Place and Her Presence is Strong Here by Parvis Decree. Dave Made a Minute is a production of Lemming Drop Studio and all other featured podcast producers. You can find more content at lemmingdrops.com. Check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Dave Made a Minute. If you like what you hear, throw us a rating and review on your podcatcher of choice. And check out all of the participants' other shows to spread the love around. Again, thank you for listening.
As long as we're all working together, this is going to be fine. It's going to be great.
I need you to notify the families of everyone who died here today.
Totally. Wait, what?